ULTI.TV.
Welcome to Nottingham and welcome to UKU Nationals from Highfield Stadium. Tom Stiles and Benji Rees with you for this opening men's game, Chevron versus Smashed. The sun is shining, there's a light breeze blowing. It's not too hot, it's not too cool. Perfect ultimate conditions, Benji. And we are back, and it's great to be here. And what a great way to start a fantastic weekend of ultimate.
I feel like a kid on Christmas morning. I'm absolutely buzzing. It's been probably 18 months since I saw any kind of live ultimate in the flesh, and it's been 6 months prior to that for me being at a tournament. So, I mean, to broadcast, and it's honestly, it's so excited, and we've got a mouth-watering prospect in action first up here on the show pitch.
So, Chevron, aged-old family names in the ultimate community. Smashed, brand new, and unfamiliar to a lot of people out there. Out of Stevenage, which is where they train, but the players have been brought together from all over the university scene, from Cambridge and Loughborough, Brighton. And Benji, what do we know about Smashed? Apart from the fact that their numbers are quite hard to read from a distance.
Yeah, going for the white shirts hasn't quite worked out that well for them in this game, but Chevron have, I guess, decided to wear the dark blue, and Smashed going with the whites as the first pool goes up. Smashed are young and they are hungry, they're athletic, but they've got a little bit of canny about them as well. They're not afraid to switch things up defensively occasionally and throw some different looks out there.
And Don Burnham picking up the disc straight to Chin Lee. Watch Chin Lee, played with the Malaysian beach team. He's got the knee brace on. We'll be seeing a lot of him. Burnham back on the field after an ACL injury, and we'll see a lot from him as well.
Devastating timing on that one. Just 2 weeks before he was due to represent GB Mixed at the Under-24 World Championships 2 years ago in Heidelberg, Germany, and he was a big loss for that team, I think, as well. He's not a big guy, but he's so swift and precise with his movements.
Making space down the line here. So far, Chevy happy to let them move it. It's a fairly loose, fairly poachy zone. Fairly poachy man defense. Certainly Bevan happy to sag off on that line shot. Breaking around the man.
I think what they're trying to do here is just test the patience. Young team, first appearance for them as a unit at Nationals, and they're seeing, how much, poise do they have? Can they really grind it down the field?
Well, so far they're finding gaps down the open side. Hard cuts to reset, cross-field cut from the 5 shirt. And into the end zone, the back corner is going to be well defended. A big bid, very hard to expect that to come off at all, really. And Chevron grinding it out exactly as Benji said and making them turn over. Shot downfield is speculative at best and cleaned up nicely.
I believe that's Ben Phipps doing the work defensively there. A little bit frustrating for Smash to work it all the way into the red zone before turning over with that overhead towards the back of the end zone. But good defense there, ready, expecting the quick deep look, maybe trying to catch them off guard with Chevron action flash, but Smashed were wise to it on that occasion.
Smashed. The second possession of this opening point, 0-0 is the score, and coming in for a trademark layout block, Matt Bevan getting horizontal. Chevron, one of the only teams here at Nationals with both teenagers and people in their 40s on the line. We were trying to work out who's in their 40s. If you know, do send us a tweet.
I wonder if Bevan is exaggerating for effect there, perhaps.
Well, we know Colt Hammer is 39. I don't know of anyone in their 40s. But if you do know, at Tom Stiles on Twitter or at Benjamin Rees.
That is the one, well remembered.
Let us know if you know who's in their 40s in Chevron. Poking it down the line for a quick score. And Chevron open with a break. And this first point of the men's division game against Smashed.
They generated 2 turns there, and they took the second one. Smash really trying to jam it down the line, not a huge amount of space there, and they were patient around the end zone. And in the end, it's Eddie Mason, one of the youngsters on this team, with Chevron, they attract a lot of young talent. Let me put my teeth back in. From the big school programs like Flux and Air Badgers, and they're one of these teams that has continually brought these kind of youth, junior, under 20, under 24 prospects through. And it's one of the reasons I think why they've been able to sustain that level at the top of the towards the very top of the UK pyramid, because they're constantly generating new talent coming through.
Yeah, Smashed, we were chatting with the Smashed guys just before, and they're, like we were saying, a fairly new team. And we asked them, what's the Smashed brand? What is it that makes Smashed such an attractive team for people to play? And two things. He said, young, energetic, and we're friendly. And big attraction, they're going to Euros. They've accepted a space at Euros.
A lot of teams in the current climate were not necessarily keen on taking a Euros bid if they earned it, which is totally understandable. I mean, obviously, I think in normal circumstances, it's very unlikely that we see a lot of these teams decline, but especially perhaps with the older teams where they're more likely to have full-time jobs, fewer students, and that means that comes with it's more difficult to get the extended time off, especially if you're going to need to quarantine before or afterwards. So a lot of teams that would have taken spots haven't necessarily done so. Smash, however, have accepted the offer, and so we might be seeing them at Euros.
So Akito, the number 8 shirt there, and it's been sent deep. There's going to be some defence, and well read. Brought it down all the way. Chevron with the disc again. That didn't really look like a good option from Smash, taking that shot, and a timeout called by Mark Penny.
Yeah, Fungerino, I could see what he was looking for, but he didn't have his balance set properly. He was leaning back a little bit, and that meant that he put the throw up into the air a bit more. It was Dewalla in the end who brought it down. I thought there was a timeout there, but I guess
it wasn't a timeout. It looks like an injury, doesn't it?
Yeah, it must have been some sort of stoppage, and play now has resumed with Chevron trying to get back-to-back breaks, and they're shooting deep to Turner. What a grab.
Yeah, great flick downfield, perfectly balanced in this light breeze. You could see the disc struggling for direction, but Turner was always free in the end zone. And Chevron, solid start, 2 breaks, and they are looking really good.
Yeah, as you mentioned, very strong start. Turner's new to Chevron this year. He's been playing in the mixed division for the past few cycles, seen him previously with Smog and with Deep Space. This time he's taking his talents to the open division, slotting in nicely to the Chevy squad. He's a very athletic defender, and as you mentioned, he can bring that aerial presence there as well. Back-to-back breaks for Chevron to start, 2-0 up, and this is what Smash kind of came to nationals for. Obviously, they want to take some scouts and take some names, but they're playing very good teams. They're going to be put under the pump a bit. Do they have the kind of the mental fortitude to fight back from situations like this?
Well, it was one of the things that the captain mentioned to us, Benji, was that the formats that the teams have been allowed to play this year hasn't given them this multiple games across the weekend format, which the big tournaments have traditionally given teams. And while that's allowed, teams, Chevron were actually a big fan of that, because it said the game quality was higher. They put everything into that one game. But if you are trying to develop a team, multiple games in a weekend is a great format.
And I think it's the difference as well, perhaps, of being in the National League, the top division, versus having to qualify coming up through the ranks of the National Cup, where the quality of competition, as you mentioned, is not necessarily of the same standard.
Found a bit of space over on the far side. Big disc rising, but everyone misjudges it. Drifts over the head. Both the defenders and the offense were fished in underneath that one. Oh, Don Burnham just gets a fingertip to that. Almost blocks the pass to Bevan. Now out to the wing, a big disc going downfield, chasing it, but it's going to disappear into the turf. Not able to connect on this occasion.
Couple of steps there deep. I like the look, but it's relatively still, but there is a bit of a breeze that's coming up, and I think maybe that's affecting it. We saw the throw going towards our right-hand side, getting pushed up, and with that huck there, just pushed down into the turf. Didn't quite have the edge or the spin required to cut against the elements there.
Well, we are standing here in the pavilion. It's one of the best places I've commentated from, Benji.
It's a lovely view, isn't it?
It is. We're protected from the elements a little, though. So we're looking at the flags, and that there is a big bank of trees you can see over to the left-hand side of this field as we look at it, behind the field. and that is going to create some turbulence around. So we'll try and get a good feel for the wind in this first game.
It is very strange having a tournament in Nottingham and it not being 50-mile-an-hour winds. It's very unusual.
Yes, the wind farm was a special venue right down on the Trent Plain, the Trent Valley. You pretty much guarantee very, very strong breezes. Disc catching the breeze. Oh, well read and brought down on that far side. Chevron finding a gap now. Bidding and reading, but couldn't get to there. It was Seb Hart out on the wing, diving on the floor. One of the youngsters that's come up through those junior teams you were talking about, Benji.
And as we mentioned, Chevron has that interesting blend of youth and experience. When it meshes, you've got perhaps the younger, slightly more athletic types. No offence to some of the older players who are apparently still in very good shape, which is more than I can say for myself post-lockdown. But then I wasn't necessarily in great shape beforehand anyway. And you've got those players, perhaps the older heads on the field who can marshal your offense a little bit more. Another
huge bid from Bevan. He's not lost any of his spring. And a turnover, but it's been called as a foul.
Is it really... what's the word for... is it really mean of me to call out Bev there for not catching his D?
You got a fingertip to it, but it did get then smuggled back into the hands of Smashed on that far side. And the following pass got some fingertip contact. He was trying to throw a reset back towards his own end zone, which a deep shot going down. They're going to be chased, going to be some pressure. It's just short of the end zone, not in yet. Can they find something available? No. Great defense from Chevron, covering every option, taking away the angles as they arrived, and they have to reset. That is superb defense from Chevron.
Yeah, but I did like the way that Smashed, they weren't trying to squeeze it in there. The first look was always the reset, getting it back, and then Turville and Burnham run the little give-go on the front of the end zone, and that's Smashed's first point of the National Championships.
Wow, well done, Smash, getting off the mark, capitalising on that big gainer downfield into the corner. The Chevy defence did everything they could, scurrying around. But like you say, Benj, this team not phased by playing at this high level here at the Nationals. You're listening to Tom Styles and Benji Rees coming to you live from Nottingham. This is the Highfield Sports Park, part of Nottingham University, and over to our right, behind the beautiful parkland of the Nottingham University campus, we can just see the tower of the Trent building, one of the iconic buildings inside the campus. Have you had chance to explore the grounds of our beautiful university here, Benj?
Not for over a decade. When I was but a wee lad and looking at prospective universities, I did take a tour of Nottingham. In the end, as those who've listened to me for any period of time will know, I did my undergraduate at Sussex in the end, which I thoroughly loved. But it is a beautiful site here in Nottingham, in the heart of the country.
Yes, we've got the Nottingham Hockey Club right next to us, and then the Nottingham Tennis Centre just next to that. We have the tram. You'll see a tram going across the back of the fields.
I'm a big fan of a tram. I'm hoping that we can get some sneaky tram shots on the stream earlier.
We might be able to get a tram caption.
Tram cam. Oh, yes.
Yeah, tram caption as they go. Well, they've been quite quiet. I've not seen one go past this morning.
It's a real shame that you weren't here. Earlier this morning, because there were a very invasive flock of Canadian geese that were having a little peck away at the field.
Chevron here. I've got the disc again. The score is 2-1, and their first chance to see their offense. I believe they've had. D-line have been on the field every point so far, so it's the first chance to see the offense. Going down the line is Hodgson, gets it. Looking for the next pass. Oh, it's a poor disc from Hodgson. Could not be caught.
That's very unusual for him. Usually he's very accurate with those throws, but that time the cut perhaps not quite at the right angle. Maybe, first game, just ironing that out a little bit there. And so disc went to the floor and now Smash an opportunity to break and take the game level.
You putting a little bit of the emphasis on the cut there, Benj?
No. I'm just curious. It's always
just
interesting.
Curiosity.
Yeah,
Okay.
something that we talked about off stream is that we were very curious to see how sharp these two teams are. Obviously, they've played games and tournament and some of those fixtures this year, but doing it at nationals is a very different animal.
Yeah, great defense from Chevy again, taking away the option that sharp changes of directions, jerky, jolty run. Couldn't get free. Had to go for the second reset. And really not able to make very many forward passes here. Another big bid comes down. Oh, it's floated beautifully into the end zone. It's chasing it down. He catches it in full stride, and Smashed have scored another point. And that is a break to take it back to 2-2. A huge point for the team in white.
If you're a fan of Smashed, you love to see it. That time you saw the risk of going for that layout bid, because if you don't get the block in place, you do leave yourself a little bit exposed. And that time especially, the way it played out was they had the lefty looking down the line, able to sit that flick into space. Turville chasing it down. Hodgetts beating deep, and then simple catch for the goal, and all of a sudden we're level pegging again. Chevron's still the one break up, having started on defense, but we said a couple of breaks down to start the game. How much did Smashed have in the tank to come back from it? Well, I think they've answered a couple of very important questions there, Tom.
Yeah, it was a really impressive point, and Chevy's O-line are going to be scratching their heads a little bit and having to come back and reassert themselves now, because that was the first point of the game for them. They've had a sort of 15 minutes of watching the D-line do the work, and then they come on and get turned with a poor disc.
It was not a great disc.
And scored on the other end. So that was a downwind point. The wind is coming from our right to our left. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the pavilion here at Nottingham University. Tom Stiles and Benji Rees. You know what Benji looks like? This is what Benji looks like.
Oh, that's what Tom's look like. It's very weird trying to find Tom without the hat, I must admit.
The hat is here. The hat is here. It's just
we'll save it. We'll save it for later. Yeah.
Yeah, it never goes far, but it's hard to have one of these headsets on your head with the hat as well. So
we need to get some of those fancy lip microphones. That's what we need.
So running it to the front of the end zone, and this is a clam defense here. Felix gesticulating madly as the stack in the middle of the field. And they did say that they were going to try and play this when it's generated a turn.
This is something that they did reveal to us, is that Jake Betson, who's one of the captains, said that they will, especially against stacks, they will surround, they will go flex, and they'll just try and get them out of these first and second looks to get them to back up options, as the huck from Westel is a little bit erroneous, it has to be said.
Yeah, that's a wasteful shot, really, as Dathan comes to pick up the disc now and resets to Kime. Having worked so hard to get that block, Cheeseman, usually see him wearing a Clapham shirt, but he's come across to play in blue. Rolo Sachs-Dixon in the familiar 49 shirt. Huge aerial presence lurking if he ever gets into the end zone, but right now he's doing the work with disc in hand. Cheeseman not taken. Second cut. Ethan Morrell. Nice inside flick and just pops it into the end zone. Much more steady, much more confident from Chevron, and they take a 3-2 lead.
That's and the assist is. It feels weird to call a little pop pass trademark Dom Dathan, but that's what he does. He's just a distributor. He just takes the right option. He's very comfortable, working the unders, grinding it out, resetting and dumping and swinging when needs be. And I can't really think of a more him assist than just taking an easy pop into the end zone for a goal, really.
Yeah, Dom Dathan is one of those players that it's very, very distinctive the way he plays. So let's talk a little bit about him. He's 8.5 stone wet through. He's very, very light on his feet. He's not tall, but his passes are absolutely rock solid. He can break pretty much any force, and because he's so light on his feet, he changes directions so quickly that he's just available for those resets. So and a perfect handler. I remember as part of the GB mix setup from it must have been 7 or 8 years ago now.
Which one?
With Dom Dathan playing across from Anya Godbold.
2016 perhaps in London?
Oh, it might have been. Yes, it was. Yeah,
I mean,
2016.
Time kind of doesn't exist anymore.
No.
I do understand.
2015 they won Euros, and then 2016 they that was my Dom Dathan memory scarred in the back of my eyeballs, just watching him and Anya Godbold play brilliantly as part of the O-line there. But Smashed are down here. They trail Chevron by 1, but they have had... Oh, that's a fantastic layout. Reaching out, legs splayed, grabs with one hand. That'll be on the highlight reel tonight for sure. Smashed, floating one back for a reset.
What's that thing they say about every spectacular catch? It requires a slightly errant throw. You maybe won't thank him at the moment. He'd much rather have had it straight into the chest. But when he looks back on the highlight reel, maybe he's just like okay, thanks for giving me the opportunity to strut my stuff.
That's right. Burnham reaches high, grabs. Front of the end zone. Akito. Not quite found a way through the Chevron defence, and the stall count was too high, and it's turned over.
It was all very congested towards that front corner. I think would have perhaps preferred more of a concerted effort just to really get that inward pivot, look at getting the disc off the line into the centre, really give yourself both sides of the mark to attack, or maybe get a little bit creative with an overhead to the break side. I don't know why I'm gesticulating, they can't see me.
Oh, I can see you, Benj, and it's helping me. Oh, that's a high disc. Really had to get up and grab that.
Made it look effortless.
It's one of those bounding shots. Oh, and another one required just shy of the end zone, not quite in. Looking for the around and finds it. And with that high grab followed up by the score in the end zone, Chevy take it 4-2.
Well, I mean, really fingertip stuff there. Like Turner, he couldn't reel it in first time round, but he got enough of the disc to kind of keep it alive, and then love the focus, making sure that he was there, ready for the second effort, getting the clap catch as well to secure it, and then really using kind of the full length of that pivot to get around, put the backhand into the goal. And so far, it's been a game of 2-point runs. Chevron went 2-0 up. Smash leveled it at 2-2, and now it's 2 in a row for Chevron again, and it's 4-2. God, this is to tell you what, after being starved of Ultimate for a year and a half, 2 years, this is it's being thrown in at the deep end a little bit, Tom, and I'm loving it. It's so good to be back. Good Lord, I cannot tell you how happy I am.
Yes, we've missed each other. I mean, myself and Benji and the rest of the commentary team, the rest of the production crew, we spend a lot of our summers together, don't we, over the years. And then for the last 2 years, really, all of that's been cancelled.
It's been so strange, just not see, as you mentioned, in the busy, when the calendar's, really full, we're fortunate enough to be kind of all around the UK and Europe as well. So we'll be at the various tour events when we had those. Nationals will be at Euros, whether that be club or nations, and then things like beach tournaments. There's now European indoors, some of the major club tournaments as well, like Windmill and Tom's Tourney. There's so much Ultimate usually, and going from that to nothing has been a very strange transition. And hopefully now, fingers crossed, this is the start of a more familiar Ultimate calendar, as Chevron are changing things up a little bit here. This looks a bit like an arrowhead to me, a very loose arrowhead.
Well, they did say they were going to throw a zone, and Smash was certainly expecting that. I wonder how long they'll keep it. Sometimes it dissolves into a one-on-one when you get to the brick mark, and that appears to have been what has happened. There you go.
Well called. It's the kind of the reverse commentator's curse there. But I think what Chevron quite like doing is when it just seems to pan out that way, they will kind of transsolve. That's not a word. Transform, dissolve into the one-on-one, and then they'll happily go out of it if the situation allows.
I'm absolutely delighted to see Matt Bevan bossing this game so far. He's a player I've been watching for years and years and years, and he's had a really big impact there, getting that block, following it up on the sideline, and getting the turnover, making sure of it. And he's cutting hard now. He's got the disc in hand, looking for that shot up the line. And there's been a pick called, first of the game, and that's good to see. What we 6 points into the game, and we've got our first pick call.
Part of the reason we will probably see fewer picks when in this game than others is because Smashed don't go one-to-one as much as other teams, and they like to poach, they like to surround, they like to sit in space. Sorry, I'll let you finish that.
Yeah, Chevron finishing that point with on D. That's a turnover for them. A break for them. So they take it 4-2, Benji.
5-2.
Sorry, 5-2.
It is 5-2 now. I think they're just going to tick that scoreboard over a little bit.
My bad.
That's all right. But sorry, yeah, the point I was making before Chevron rudely interrupted me by scoring was that Smash, they like to surround, they like to flex, they like to clam, use whatever terminology you wish, but they don't like going. But especially if a team's going in that vertical stack, they don't like marking one-to-one because it's seen as being inefficient. You know, you're giving them a huge break space to attack, and actually, generally, you kind of know where they're going to attack. They're going to look for an open side under and a deep, and actually, you can have players sitting in that space already. And so kind of anticipating where those cuts are going to go, and providing that you're drilled in it and you've got that communication necessary, because with any kind of adaptive defense like that, you need communication is absolutely key. And you're happy to, to drop matchups, to pass players off, that sort of thing. They're very comfortable doing it, and one of the advantages of it is because you're not going with that hard one-on-one and you don't have players running across each other, you don't get picks in the same way because they're not staying strictly to those same matchups. And it makes the game flow a little bit nicer as well.
Well, we would like to say thanks to a lot of people for making this weekend happen. I mean, UKU have done a great job putting the tournament on. The fields are looking fantastic. Nottingham University to thank for that. Our production team, we've got Milan here, has driven across from Amsterdam, caught the ferry, and has brought all the gear across for this weekend.
We need to work out how we're getting it home afterwards, ready for Glastonbury and UK Masters Nationals in a couple of weeks' time. But I think that's our next port of call. We've got Felix is here as well, manning the cameras, along with Rob. It's always good to have the anchor here as well. And Chips is joining us as well for the first time this weekend. And it's always nice to have a new face aboard.
Yes. Learning the ropes. Bringing, like Chevron, always bringing the new talent through, Benji. I think that's what the media team are trying to do.
Just not for our jobs. We'll keep those. No, I'm joking. As well as us this weekend, we've got Hannah Pendlebury's here as well, so we'll be hearing from her at points throughout the weekend, as well as Harry Mason and Ali Thomas as well. So a nice little rotation of us coming through today and tomorrow.
Yes. I'm with you for 3 games back to back to back, which is how we love it.
Yeah, we front-loaded you early this morning.
Yes. So we are 5-2 to Chevron. Smashed O-line coming out again. Down the line. And then looking for that continuation, not available. Really good defense from Chevron. Across to the far side, Akito has it. Oh, yeah. Into the middle.
That's what I think Smash need to keep doing. If they see any of these players poached, don't be afraid to be aggressive in breaking the mark and take it, partly because it resets the stall, and partly because, if they're poaching off, you've got a player with a free look.
Seamus with the big disc into the end zone. It's going to be pulled out of the sky by Chevron. And that is, it's one of those sort of plays that would work against other teams, but isn't going to work in UK national finals against Chevron.
Yeah, Phipps is a player that they like to look for deep, and you can understand why, given the size. But at this level, as you say, there are a lot of teams who will be able to match that. And perhaps those looks that were open when they were playing in the National Cup aren't going to be open in the same way here at Nationals.
Flynn Campbell in the 14 shirt, one of the new comers to this team, but he's put it into the turf there, a little bit outstretched from the receiver.
So opportunity at the second time of asking now for Smash to put in this 0 point and cut that deficit back down to 2 points.
Floated round to the far side, going to have to reach, and another one of those incredible layouts, but this time the disc just out of reach, flowing down the line. This is better from Chevron. Nice continuation. Can they keep it going now? Good defense from Smash, taking away the options as they arrive. That's a clever little break out to the far side. Now we've got the whole pitch exposed. Inside shot, almost there. Slip on the ground and into the end zone. It's beautiful work from Chevron. That just exposing that break side. A little flick on the inside, and Chevron looking like the masters that they are, taking the game now. It's 6-2, and Smash have got a job to do to get back into this one, Benji.
They absolutely do, Tom, but that little inside-out flick of this sideline to get it off, I cannot tell you how difficult it is to execute that properly in such a narrow channel. Was executed to perfection. With the turnover, I quite like the look of the big swing over the top. I think the receiver got sucked in a little bit underneath the disc. You see this happen quite a lot, I think, with those flows that throw those... I'll take it again. With those throws that float, especially with that kind of blading angle, it's easy to get kind of sucked underneath it, and then you're slightly chasing afterwards and after it and trying to oh my word, I can't speak. Trying to track it while it's coming over your head. And it can be very difficult, but as you mentioned, that time Chevron were clinical with the offense. They broke the force well. They found the options and they made it look easy there. And you feel like perhaps Chevron now are clicking into a slightly higher gear than their opponents, perhaps.
Yeah, just talking a little bit about the team Smashed. We've seen a lot of play from Akito, and Seamus was took that deep shot to the end zone there. Both been playing 6 years. In fact, there's not a single player I can see on our survey response for Smash that's been playing for more than 8 years. So, young team. Sorry, Finn.
That's the Chevron one that's snuck
the
in.
Chevron one
because I've sorted it by number rather than by team and by number. So sorry for that, Tom.
That's all right.
But yes, they are, as you mentioned, they're generally very young. No one's kind of older than mid-20s probably. But a lot of them then haven't just been playing from university. They were playing some junior ultimate as well. So they're perhaps a little bit more experienced than other players might be at that age.
Got their work cut out here now, and Chevron. Are they still playing an arrowhead, or is it about to dissolve? It might be about to dissolve. No, it's still looking... If it has dissolved, it's very poachy still.
I think one of the problems that Smashed are seeing is that we're not having that connection between what's going on downfield and what's going on in the handler set.
Yeah.
So often they're looking and they're faking for the handler swing. But by the time that's gone, the defender's kind of been moved over in that direction. But the timing of the cut from the centre of the pitch to kind of open that more space downfield, it isn't quite synchronised at the moment.
Another really good poaching communication. There's pointing going on between the Chevron defence. This is really good stuff. If you are wanting to improve your defence as a team, just watch what Chevron are doing here. Really active communication, and a big bid comes across. Catches a bit of the back of the receiver, but not enough. Bit of a body charge. Apologises. Bevan just coming through.
It's a little bit of argy-bargy. Nothing, I think, just players kind of talking their way through it, I think. One of the things that happens in every game, really, there is that metaphorical and sometimes literal feeling out process, I guess, of how much contact are we happy for there to be before we call it a foul. Are we all on the same page in that regard? Very good option finding the poach there.
That was a great disc. Threading the needle, looking down the line, but great coverage. That's going to be found wanting the knifey shot into the end zone. That was more of an indoor throw than a Nationals throw.
And the throw like that is fine if there's a player in space, but it was a cramped, congested area, and it was over Turville's head, and there were 2 Chevron defenders there to mop up behind him.
A mop up they did. Deep shot downfield, sees the cut go deep, and Seb Hart opens up the guns and sends it. You know, Benj, I'm disappointed to say I think we might have a tram-free day. I think the bank holiday the tram is off. Because we would have seen a tram every 10 minutes up until now. And you're going to spike your mask for this, aren't you?
I'm furious. Furious. Honestly, you've let me down, Tom. You've let me down. I don't know why you've let me down, because I'd forgotten that there were trams until you brought it up. That's why.
Apologies.
So it's all your fault.
Chevron, again, in the three people in the wall, 3 men in the wall, with a poach behind, and downfield they're just handing off. It is more of a one-to-one coverage in the deep. They're marking them very close, but then handing them off as soon as they move out of their area. This is great stuff, and Smashed having to find a scuba into the space, and then nothing. They have to go back.
The thing is, they've got those throws, and Chevron were leaving them open, inviting them, like, can you take them on? And it was a little bit frustrating seeing them not try it, because they do have those in the locker, and there was plenty of space for them. They were just a little bit reticent to hit it.
Yeah, better movement there. A quick jolt downfield, and now they're back with the one-to-one mark, spreading the play. Bevan comes across to cover, down the line available, but not found. There's somebody's free. They're still poaching and handing off here, Chevron. I thought they'd gone to a one-to-one, but they haven't. Bevan cutting forward to try and take away that mark, and does. Still bidding, still hurrying and hassling, and jumps up off the floor to chase this one. As Smash got an opportunity, left-handed into the end zone. It's bringing it down. Oh, beautifully read all the way down the field. Smashed with a beautiful 3rd point. Great play once they'd broken past that poachy one-to-one mark of the Chevron defense.
This is what I want to see teams do more often, not just in this game, but generally, is really be like an Andre Previn, which I appreciate is a reference that might be lost on a lot of people.
Explain it,
younger
Bevan.
than he was a very famous conductor, an orchestral conductor, and I really want to see people orchestrate the tempo a little bit more. Use that kind of rubato style of playing with the time signature. So go slowly when you need to, cool things down, and then when you see the opportunity, perhaps it's like them when there's a player who's put a bid in and hasn't got there, and all of a sudden there's not a force on. All of a sudden you're really picking it up and moving quickly and changing the tempo, and it's makes it a bit more difficult to defenders. And that time they did that brilliantly. It was slow. The bid came in, it didn't get there, and it's like, right, off we go.
Yeah.
Working it up the line, and then the puck into space for Will Seth, who's good. He has the speed, he has the height, and he had a couple of steps there. And even though the throw sat a little bit, was able to reach up with that left hand, snag it out of the sky, and cut the deficit. So they're only 3 behind now, but Chevron still leads 6-3.
Well, exciting action down here from Nottingham. We're at the Highfield Sports Park, part of Nottingham University's facilities, next door to the Nottingham Hockey Centre, the Nottingham Tennis Centre, and right across the road from Nottingham University's campus. You see the Trent building above the trees, just poking its way through, showing the campus architecture. But down here, architecting a strong lead, is Chevron Action Flash.
Is architecting a verb?
It is now. And Chevy,
you know what? Can't argue with that.
Moving, has got space over on the far side. Doesn't take it.
I really wanted it to go, but it's a very difficult throw because you'd have to get exactly the right amount of inside out to get that to sit into space, and it would have been some throw to achieve it.
Kime picking it off the ground, finds Morel. Cheeseman cutting, didn't get there. There was a space there, but it had to be timed well, and it wasn't. So Cheeseman's got it back now, resetting around past the brick mark.
Yeah, I think credit the Smash defender. He just sat in that front corner of the end zone for an extra second to prevent the little upline throw going in.
Cheeseman resetting. It's a sort of a Clapham move that he worked so well at when he was with the London club. Beautiful work down the line. Colt Hammer with the assist into the end zone. And Chevy confidently taking 7-3.
I'm getting used to the Cheeseman wearing number 8 rather than the 50 I think he used to don when he was at Clapham. But obviously with Chevy it's taken by Sam Turner, I think is the 50. It's going to take a little bit getting used to. I think this is one of the things
we
that
are
we
a
might
group of
see
ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts.
During the pandemic, perhaps, is players playing for teams that we're not necessarily familiar with. partly because perhaps they can't commit to going, the long distances to training that they were previously used to. They want to keep it closer to home, and that's why we're seeing players in slightly unfamiliar jerseys, like here with Chevron, with players like Lloyd Cheeseman and Robbie Haynes. It's slightly unusual, but I guess we'll have to get used to it.
We will. Just the other people we need to thank, Benji, because we are very lucky to be able to do this work and do this job, and all the people involved with ULTI.TV and the broadcasting here from UK Nationals work ridiculously hard for almost no reward. But we are grateful that we do have a small bit of funding thanks to our Patreons. And if you'd like to be involved and like to support coverage of Ultimate from around Europe
and the world,
then you can do just that, and there will be a commercial coming up shortly that tells you how to get involved. But we're back down here watching Smashed in white play Chevron Action Flash in blue. It's Tom Styles and Benji Rees with you for the opening game from UK Nationals. Good to be back and good to have you with us wherever you're watching, whether you're watching live or on replay. We do appreciate it. And if you are watching on YouTube, just give that thumbs up button a smash, will you?
Oh, look at that, Tom. It's like you've never left.
I know. And there's a call on the field, and it's going to come back to Chevron.
I think perhaps they're discussing whether he was able to keep his feet in bounds when he made the catch. It's difficult for us to see because they are right on the far side of the field. And so he's getting an opinion from the sideline.
Here comes the replay then. So we're saying, I think his first foot was in. Even from that replay, it's hard to say. But
yeah, I think Chevron have retracted the call, it looks like. So it's perfectly fine. If you're not sure about something, call it, talk it through, and then if, your teammates, emerges you're in the wrong, retract the call. It's good to see.
Better to have the chat than not, isn't it? So Burnham now on the sideline for Smashed. Trying to find a way down, and does find a way down. No problem about the line this time, and working it in, and a little fluttery grab, but manages to hang on to it. And that is 7-4 to Smashed, preventing Chevy from taking the half.
I think it's Joe Navani on the end with the second effort grab. Well, I tell you what, they made that a little bit more difficult than it otherwise might have been, because they got into trouble a couple of times with high stall counts, but they're able to find the options, and that time just continually squeezing it down that far side space. Going to see it again here on the replay. Gets it out nice and early, fumbles, and yet does just about it's not how they tell you to do it in the textbook, kind of the clutching it between the elbow and the side, but he's clearly demonstrated that he stopped the rotation and he's got control of the disc there. So, no questions asked, and the goal stands. And now, as you mentioned, Chevron haven't taken a half just yet. Smash will try and, see if they can sneak back a couple of breaks before that might happen. As it is, it's currently 7-4 to the team in blue. I'll tell you what, Chevron has always, I think, it used to be a bit more difficult, but I've got to credit them because the kit numbers are incredibly easy to read. And when I'm up here in the metaphorical booth, or on the literal balcony as it is this weekend, that's the one thing I want to see, is how easily can I read your shirt numbers. And yeah, Chevron are masters of the art.
Gold on white, Benji, what's your view?
Look,
never. Don't just.
It's not ideal. I'll be honest. The gold on black, I think, is a lot better. Also, if you're going to have gold on your uniforms, you've got to have a little bit of brass about you. I think, to be honest.
That's a great pull. That's landed right in the corner. Well, certainly on the sideline. Plenty of time for Smash to get down there. This young athletic team out of the Stevenage is where they train. They're from Cambridge and Loughborough, and a couple of Brighton players in here coming together. They've got a lot of GB under-24 experience between them, certainly in the leadership of the team.
Yeah, all over the bottom half of the country, I think, basically.
Cheeseman flicks it across, finding Rolo Sachs-Dixon, who just reaches a big paw up and takes that one down. And Chevron take the half, 8-4. You're watching the UKU Nationals from Nottingham.
I just had to double check that we were still outside, because that was a very indoorsy style throw. It's look up, see the far corner of the end zone, put it with some blade on it, and that time it's pick out the big guy. And I think there are few better big guys in UK Ultimate at the moment than Rollo Sax-Dixon, to be fair.
He's the big guy's big guy, isn't he? You know, if you're looking to hone your craft and looking for another big guy to copy, Rollo Sax-Dixon.
He's not a bad man to imitate, to be honest.
He really is not. And he's been doing it for a while as well. And, you know, he's got that positioning, the explosive ups, but also he starts off pretty high to begin with, doesn't he? You know,
yeah, I mean, he's one of these players. There's a decent contingent of Chevy players actually have come through the system at UBU, the University of Birmingham. I remember he's a couple of years younger than me. So I kind of remember seeing him coming through, and obviously never marked up against him because, I mean, he's literally over a foot taller than I am. But seeing him develop as a player has been quite something to watch.
So we're at half here, and we'll just take a short break, and you can find out a little bit more about how to support the coverage here from UK Nationals.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
our
work
work
to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
Now, welcome back. We're at half with Tom Styles and Benji Rees here from Nottingham. And don't forget to check out www.ULTI.TV, and you can check out all the work that ULTI.TV are doing around Europe, around the UK, around the world to provide the best ultimate coverage that's free to everybody. But what we would like to do is invite you as fans and supporters, if you have the means, to think about becoming a Patreon of ULTI.TV and putting a little bit of money into the regular support of the coverage of Ultimate around the world. Now, don't be thinking that anyone's getting rich off this, because absolutely we are not.
No, believe me, I would love to get rich. Nothing would make me happier than being able to do Frisbee commentary full time for a living. People who know me know that I genuinely mean that.
Yes.
But as such, it is not available. Just
there's a lot of expenses, isn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't. Production doesn't come cheap. When you think about that, we've currently got 2 cameras and all the kit to stream the PC from, the software, the microphones, and as much as we'd love to give our time for free, we can't. We're not always in a position to do that, unfortunately.
Well, I think most people this weekend are giving their time for free, but we've got to fly them in, or Milan's
ferry them in,
boat them in from Amsterdam with a car full of gear, and just covering expenses is a huge thing that we'd love to be able to do, and we'd love to be able to do it with your help. So all the coverage that we are producing is free to everybody to watch for the growth of the sport, and no paywalls. We just want to see great coverage out here, but we would really love your support. So if you do have the means and you're a fan of the sport and you'd love to see it grow, then there is no better way to see that happen than to sign up for a Patreon account and support ULTI.TV.
And, I appreciate that times are perhaps a little bit tighter than they were usually, I understand, but for those of you, even if you cannot support us monetarily, we understand. We're not gonna berate you for it. But little things like watching the coverage, telling everyone what's going on, and things like sharing the links, getting active on the socials, we do greatly appreciate it.
Yes. Even the least you could do is click the thumbs up. Let's go. Josh Kime kicks us off for the second half. We've got Chevron Action Flash in the blue against Smashed. It's 8-4 at half. A pretty impressive performance from this young Smash side, but they are struggling to hang on to the coattails of a dominant Chevy team. Yeah,
you feel like it took maybe a little bit of time for Chevron to warm up, and perhaps they haven't quite clicked into full gear just yet. Maybe they have.
Maybe they have. That was a really impressive performance there. Sam Turner involved, and the flick across to the far corner. It's the 16 shirt. Who's the 16 shirt?
That is a very, very good question.
I don't think we've got him written
currently
down. Oh, no, we do. That is Ethan Morrell. That's Ethan Morrell. I've been confusing it with the 15 shirt.
It's okay. So maybe they're not the easiest. They're not the clearest numbers ever, but they are generally pretty clear. I think that's what we saw was the risk reward of going for that big defensive layout. You know, if you get it, my word, what a highlight. But you've always got to calculate, okay, if I do make this bid, what are the consequences of it? I might not get a mark on. Are my team set up, to adjust for that? Can we get defenders into those spaces? Can they, perhaps sag off into a lane, perhaps? Can we flash into a different direction? You've always got to kind of have that calculation in your head going on. And again, that's another area where communication is important, because sometimes, you might get information from the sideline that you get the green light to just go for it because for example, there's deep defensive cover. But sometimes, you might see the sideline be like, hold firm, because they see that going for it and not getting it leaves you in a very compromising position.
Yeah, more important to be in the position to stop the next pass than to try and stop the current pass. And we just see the Smog mixed team arriving on a sideline here, complete with their own gazebo. That's pretty impressive stuff.
Now that is planning.
So, smashed in white, and another opportunity to see the Chevron zone here. Sagging, poaching, leaving the dump, leaving the big swing option available. And now that's better from Smash. They've made some good progress. They needed to hit that Don Burnham pass a little bit quicker, and they haven't. And Chevy have dropped into a one-on-one set with Bevan chasing back to cover Burnham. Coming down the line is available. Nothing up the middle. Burnham available in that. He is quite light on his feet and just changing direction beautifully.
Love the fancy footwork, because he's not winning that matchup in terms of stature necessarily, but he's got those quick changes of direction that lower centre of gravity brings you.
It wasn't meant for Burnham, meant to float across the far side of the field. But that's what they're needing to do here, and they're a long way from the second line here. That swing pass exposed the field, but there was no Smash players forward to pass it to that weren't covered. He's got a big swing available now, has to take it, but can they get that follow-on pass? Not really the committed cut they needed there.
So they are taking the open passes, which is always a good idea. I cannot stress enough how always a good idea it is. But perhaps, you need to take that a little bit earlier, because generally if you look off open passes, sometimes when you look back, they're not open anymore and you're in real trouble.
Why they haven't taken that open line pass after the Chevy player was on the floor there, I do not know, but from some frustration, he's gone downfield. This time he is the option, but Chevron reading it better, taking it earlier, and smashed a little bit naive with that shot into the end zone where it was on earlier, wasn't on there. I
think just getting tunnel vision a little bit there, locked on the receiver. Yeah, they've got space on the matchup, but you need to keep aware, have that peripheral vision to see the defender on the backside who's in a position to provide that help defensive cover and come in and sweep in the disc.
Chevy looking upfield, looking for the reset. Smash trying to get the disc back previously with that big layout. Maybe should have taken off a fraction of a second earlier. The traffic of University Boulevard providing the backdrop.
It's a boulevard, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Ooh la la.
Nottingham's got quite a few boulevards. But we hear the chimes of the Trent building over to our right as it marks. What is it marking? It's marking 11:30.
I was going to say, 11:30 is very strange. Oh, yeah, no, that checks out. I've remembered how clocks work. Please continue. It's been a long day already, Tom.
We do have a trivia question while we're just waiting for this timer to come in. We've been told one member of the Chevron team is in their 40s, so 40 plus. We don't know who it is. So we need your help. You can get us on Twitter at Tom Styles or at Benjamin Rees and let us know which member of Chevron is in their 40s. Chevy back but the brick mark, and it's a miscommunication, a change of direction, goes the wrong way, bought the fake, and the disc disappears into the turf and Smashed have got a chance to come back down the field.
Yeah, I think expecting that cut to continue into that space, but instead, changed direction, came back in, bounced it inside, just goes to the turf, and with the offense looking a little bit scrappy from Smashed on their previous possessions, Don Burnham just taking the time out so they can, get themselves set a little bit more and really figure out how not to just, play against the Chevron defense, but how to really attack it a bit more, I think.
They've looked a little hesitant, and I think they're going to have to play on instinct here a little bit more. And, they're not going to beat this team if they're not going to take every opportunity given. And some of those opportunities might not be very big, and they might not be the sort of opportunities they typically play. But the percentages at this level against this side are so much smaller, and they have to take those options. Otherwise, they are going to be looking at an increasing deficit. They are 9-4 down, and Chevron not looking like they're going to let them back into this game easily.
So this is perhaps one of the consequences of having come up and qualified through the National Cup rather than being in the National League group stage. So Chevron have been used to playing against what was theoretically the highest competition in the division, whereas Smash haven't necessarily had that on the way up. So the games aren't necessarily the same intensity. They don't necessarily have the same levels of athleticism. The offenses aren't as clinical. The defenses aren't necessarily as not just more physical, but they might be a bit more clever. They might be a bit more adaptable, I think.
See Matt Bevan there, centre screen of the 37 shirt on his chest. Legend of this Chevron team, has been with them since he was came out of the junior GB junior system. I remember watching Matt Bevan in Turku in Finland, 2004.
Wow.
The World Championships, just dropping some old tournaments on the floor for you there, Benj.
I want to bring up something. So Finn Campbell is 23, I think, for hang on. Yeah, I can't remember.
14. He's 14 for Chevy.
Who am I thinking of? The 23 shirt. It's someone whose name has completely escaped me now, and I've forgotten it. He has a Frisbee tattoo on his right calf.
Oh,
It is not a Chevron tattoo.
Oh.
It is a pelt snail.
Okay.
So evidently he's come over from Ireland at some point, and has.
Any Frisbee tats for you, Benj?
So I mean,
you got ULTI.TV tattooed on your your left breast.
Surprisingly not. I do. An ULTI.TV tattoo does exist. It is not on my body, to the surprise of literally no one, I think.
Smashed, making a good start of this second part of possession. Don Burnham with that spicy hammer across the field, opening up the play and looking a lot better here as they make their way downfield. They're past the brick mark and in sight of the end zone, but Chevron's poachy defense again, not close to the disc here. You're going to have to go around. There's no break around that mark. Burnham again cutting free, short of the end zone, but he cuts in himself. He goes for the reverse, and the disc is not quite floaty enough. Chevron pick up again and immediately eye the end zone. Dathan had gone, and this time the disc does go, and it's being tracked beautifully underneath. Catches a huge gain of yards, the sort of thing that Smash dream of, and Chevron do it so easily. It's really frustrating for them. And Chevron with Bevan poking it into the end zone to Seb Hart, one of the young players that has come through. Has he come through the Air Badgers system, or is he a Flux player? I don't know which.
I'll be honest. These youngsters are all so talented, I refuse to watch because it makes me feel old.
Let's see that again. So the catch, this is exactly what you should do when you've just caught a long disc. Not necessarily go for it. Just reset, and Bevan in the perfect position to turn it into the end zone for a score.
I mean, generally when a huck goes up early in the possession like it did there, it's exactly the kind of huck you want as well because it's out into space. It gives the receiver the chance to chase it down rather than kind of swirling underneath the disc, although they had a decent height match up to huck 2 as well. But usually if you're catching that huck early in the possession, when you're catching it, you're the furthest person forward. That's why you're catching it. So it really frustrates me when people catch it off, clearly being the only person deep, and then turn and look at the end zone And there's no one there. There's no one there. So it's doing the right thing to turn around, look and take a reset, and flowing from there is the right thing to do. Frustrating for Smash because the offense there I thought looked a lot better, and it's because they were taking the open passes quicker. You know, some of those passes were more difficult passes, and the wind has picked up a little bit now. But you know, there was a player open on the far side of the field in space. It required the hammer to get them there, but you know what? He's open, he's in space. We have the ability. Let's get it there, and they moved the disc a lot quicker. It just got very stodgy when it got in the red zone, Tom.
Yeah, and that's going to be that Chevron defense. They really did make it difficult to break around. The breeze has picked up, and it's not particularly warm now. The sun has gone in, but it's 10-4 is the score. 10-4 is the score. Resets and brings it back round. There's going to nearly through that deep shot. There was a good bit of coverage down there. It might have been a good foot race, but the disc would have been needed to be pinpoint eventually, and does release a floaty flick into the end zone. Bid for it, brings it down. Not the high percentage disc, but smashed. Scoring, and it is going to be 10-5.
Well, it's a high still count there. You know, they were very purposeful with the fakes. You've got to admire that. But again, it's all very well having the faking the passes, but you need to constantly keep the eye out for the options. The still count ticked away. They could feel they were getting to the stall out situation. So what can we do? Well, if we're going to turn over, let's get it turnover down the field, and putting that huck into space, really using the fact that the mark was very side on, so they could pivot forward to get the real inside-out shape, that beautiful, voluptuous inside-out, and then picked out the receiver beautifully at the back of the end zone, where Niall Jackson made a really strong grab to take it to 10-5.
Without sounding disparaging or disrespectful to Smash, that felt like some university ultimate was right there, Benj. Looking off a short dump pass to throw a speculative inside out to the back of the end zone against some Chevy defenders.
But did it work?
It did.
Well, there you are.
Well, it did, but it had no right to. And that's the difference, isn't it? You know, and I think maybe Smash need to play like that if they're going to beat this team. They need to play like that, and then for everything to work out. And if it does, Chevy have got a game on their hands. But right now, they are looking like they're very comfortable in a 10-5 lead. Let's see how they come out on offense now with Turner. Turner looks downfield to Colthammer, who's made a great cut.
I think 97's Cartwright, if my memory is
I think it is,
good.
Yes.
I can never remember which one plays for... Is it Declan who plays for Chevron and Tom's at Clapham?
I think that's correct, yes. Cheeseman now with the disc.
It's been a long time away.
Colthammer takes it to the ground. Flick forward. Turner again. Cheeseman cutting up the line, accelerating. Turner with a reset to the centre of the field. Kime available.
It's a beautiful reset as well because it was soft and into space, so you're not making it difficult as well, and it means you can catch it and you're already in a position to go downfield.
That was great work. Kime's low release flick there forward created so much space, and Chevron look like they're playing on a bigger field right now. The way that they're clogging up the space on defense for Smashed, the pitch looks small and compressed and claustrophobic. There, just any flick, any break, we've got it, and there's only one person in that space, and we're going to find them. And
again, it's nicely tight. It's timing of continuations because the inside flick goes. Turner's catching it. He's looking up, and there's another inside flick option there to Cartwright as well. He's catching it on the precipice of the end zone, and just the the most comfortable little backhand to Cheeseman for the 11-5 lead. Chevron they're running away with it a little bit now, I'm afraid, Tom.
Well, we would have called that as the likely outcome of this game at the start. Chevron, one of the likely finalists in this men's division here at UKU Nationals. Great to be back behind the microphone. Great to be back working with the ULTI.TV crew. And here under the sunshine at the Highfield Sports Park in Nottingham. It's not the same venue that we've used for Nottingham tournaments in the past.
It is not the wind farm, mercifully, for everyone's ultimate. As much as I love the wind farm, it is very exposed.
Yeah, this is much better, more central city location. We're just across the road from Nottingham University's main campus.
It's a little bit more picturesque as well.
Burnham for smashed. It has been doing the lion's share of the handling work in the 33 shirt, cutting up the line, having to find a reset, and does find a reset with a key toe. He's looking for a flick across the field now. That poachy defense from Chevron causing difficulties. And you can see what I mean about the lack of space that they're playing in here. And Chevron beautifully intercepted. Bevan's gone deep. Is the disc going to come back inside the field for him? He's going to have to bid. And he got to it, but he would have had to do something epic to get that back in field.
So Bevan knows what he's doing there. And his aim, I think, is not necessarily to catch the disc and go for the greatest, though we would like to. His aim is to jump from inbounds and at least get a touch on the disc, so the disc is coming inbounds from that end zone.
Right.
However, I think we saw there on the replay, his launch point was off the field. So so because he's not in play.
Could we see that? Could we see that replay again? I don't know if we can or not.
It's always a risk, isn't it? Asking for the replay.
It's a test for our button pressing geniuses behind the cameras, and that is the call. So it's going to come back in there, and then he's going to walk it forward to the front of the end zone.
That's a little vet move. Like, obviously, you want to get the greatest, you want to stay in bounds, but if you can't, just getting a touch on a disc, they've gained so much field position just from that one bid.
Burnham now, first smashed, bringing it out of the back corner. 4 smashed handlers. Don't know why that option wasn't taken. But now the second time the option has been taken, and there's a 2-on-1, and if Smashed come up with this, we have on the follow-up, they've caught it and they've scored from it again.
Visionary.
You can call it visionary, Benji. I've got to call it speculative, but it worked out, which is exactly what that's exactly how they're going to have to play this game.
Often when you see, if you're the kind of a very solid size underdog in a game, you have to play this slightly high variance strategy and just kind of hope that you run good, to borrow a poker phrase. Like, sometimes you have to pick the breaks, and that time the disc hung in the air. Fungerino did a very good job of kind of, at least he suckered the defenders in. You've got to give him credit for that. And Akito, he didn't watch it go up. He was there, he chased it down, and in the end, it's very easy when you get that disc to think, oh, I shouldn't have got this, and just go and just try and jam it in the jam hole as quickly as possible. But that time they were a little bit more calm when they did that, and they kind of got the score that perhaps the Huck didn't necessarily deserve. I think one of the big problems for Smash at the moment is there's no synergy between the handling set and the cutters downfield. They seem like they're on the timing isn't quite matched up,
and they're being looked off. We saw a cutter from the deep position cut towards the handler and get ignored completely. Now, that eventually led to the score because they looked that shot off and then went for the deep. But you're not going to be able to maintain that kind of team dynamic if you keep looking off people making good cuts. Eventually, it leads to people falling out. 11-6 is a score as Smashed put a disc downfield and Chevy catch it. Not the big floaty hook that we had earlier. And the wind seems to have dropped away, Benji. Not quite the same ferocity in the breeze as Colt Hammer passes forward. Hodgson, quick flick to Cheeseman. Cheeseman looking down the line. Turner's making that great cut and eats up the ground to catch it. Beautiful work and a very clinical offensive point on the field. 5 passes later, we're off the field. D-line, you'll go.
Sam Turner with the burners. Love to see it. I mean, that's Chevron of old, isn't it? It's the same kind of offensive line that we've been used to seeing for the past few seasons. Obviously not last season because obviously. But for the previous, we're seeing that those connections, they look as smooth and as ironed out as ever. And we've seen it with Chevron. We've seen it with GB Mixed as well, from the guys that are playing on that team. That time they've brought Lloyd Cheeseman over to the O-line, and it's like he never went to Clapham in the first place.
And just shouting out some of our Patreons who've been online. Thank you very much to David Whitehorn, who's pledged some money for us, and also to Igno Van Hees, I imagine one of your countrymen, Milan, who's pledged in euros. So thank you very much to both of you. We really do appreciate the support, all the coverage we're bringing you from Nottingham here as part of the ULTI.TV coverage this weekend is free to air for all to see, to grow the sport and develop the game. But if you would like to see more of it and you'd like to support that, then we'd really appreciate you going to ULTI.TV and finding the Patreon link, and you can support us either regularly or just as a one-off for this tournament, and that all goes towards covering the massive expenses of putting on the coverage and buying all the gear and getting everybody here and making sure that the volunteers and almost everybody here is a volunteer, including ourselves, that it doesn't cost us to bring you the coverage. I think that's the main goal for this weekend. Yeah,
and as you mentioned, the more money that comes in, the more that we can do with the coverage at tournaments. So it means we can do 2 pitches rather than 1. You can have slightly more camera setups. You can have an editor on site to get all those nice little highlight packages clipped out and early. And as well as that, it means we can go and do more tournaments as well. And there are a number of fantastic tournaments out there that we've never been able to cover, and we would love to be able to do so we can share how fun they are with everyone.
Smashed now. This young side training in Stevenage. Mostly university, sort of under-24 players who've formed this team in the last 2 years and come up through the National Cup. And on the sideline here, 35 shirt. Is that?
That's Jake Betson, who's one of the captains, but that throw into the backfield hangs. Anissa Dewala is there to snaffle it up, so another break opportunity now for Chevron action. Flash in there, just going to chill it out with the timeout.
Yeah, timeout was being called there. Who's the number 6 player? Is any Chevy player not in...
a Chevy kit.
Not in a Chevy kit, but seems to be making a lot of the calls, and unfortunately we don't have the Chevy roster. I'm trying to just see who that is from our camera.
To remember who wore 6 for Chevron in the past.
If you know who 6 is for Chevron, do send us a tweet at Tom Styles.
It wasn't Ben Weddle, was it, previously?
No. Ben's down here on the sideline.
Yeah, I didn't think it was him, but I'm sure he's worn 6 in the past. I used to be really good on shirt numbers, but I'm so out of practice. This is like there's going to be a couple of teething problems for us here in the booth as well, aren't there? Really, I think we're trying our best, but we will have some things slip through. So of course, anyone who can put us right, we are always happy to receive feedback and pointers. You can find us on Twitter. I am at Benjamin Rees, and I believe you are still at Tom Styles.
I am, yes. Now, somebody has said surely it's Matt Bevan who's 40, and I don't think he is.
Your back of the napkin maths doesn't seem to.
No, so I think Bevan. So big tournament that I saw him at was 2004.
Yeah.
Worlds in Finland.
You say that was juniors?
He wasn't a junior there. But he was. I think he was either 18 or 19 because he just finished playing juniors, and that was his first breakout season.
Was it what sort of juniors are we talking? Like under 18, proper juniors?
Under 18. So the maximum he was in 2004 was 20. I'm calling that. But yeah, if you're out there and you know Matt Bevan is definitely 40, and not just presuming that he is because.
He's been around forever.
So Colt Hammer is 39. So and he's incredible. That's an incredible number. Look, considering how athletic and amazing he is.
I wish I was in good shape at 39 as at 29 as he is at 39.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that much.
Chevy, looking down the line. Nice cut back. Had to go to ground. Flynn Campbell resetting to the middle of the field where Hodgson waits. So not Hodgson, who's number 18?
Good question.
Making some great cuts out here. That's Campbell again. Looking. Dewaller's in the end zone. Campbell's got the disc. Floats it forward. Big high grab. Dewaller at the front of the end zone. Oh, has to do a couple of grabs, but hangs on to it in the end. And it's 13-6 now to Chevy.
Yeah, they're showing their class here, and they really are pulling away from Smashed, who they're hanging on in there, but they're being found wanting a little bit. It's a tough game to have, first game of your weekend, really, isn't it? You know, Chevron and this will hurt for them. They've been the second best team in the country for, the best part of a decade.
Yes, since 2009.
I think Fire made the final once, and there was 2010 Euros where they were not the best team in the UK, but they were the best team in Europe.
They were the best team in Europe in 2009. They won XEUCF. I remember that tournament very, very distinctly because it was the last tournament I had before I became a dad. So I was on tenterhooks that my wife was going to hang on.
I'll tell you what,
she did.
I imagine that there are a fair few of the Ultimate community who are coming into these tournaments with, maybe with some extra, some extra people in tow.
Absolutely. Well, so we've got it's a game to 15. Chevy are knocking on the door of that. Smashed, no doubt, are going to go back and watch this game. In retrospect, Benji, if you had some advice for these young players, having seen the way they've played against Chevy, obviously we've been giving bits and bobs as we go, but what would you say to them as a squad that they needed to change in order to have a bigger impact as they develop as a team?
I think one of the things that my coaches told me when I was first playing, and evidently some of their coaches would have told them as well because it is the same coaches, is even if you lose the game, don't lose the lesson. So study the footage, work out, and be honest, don't just say, oh, they were better than us. Work out why were they better than us. Were they more athletic? Were they better drilled? Were they taking better options? Really, don't be afraid to have some hard truths. Oh, there's the hooter. So we'll finish the point and then add 1 for the cap.
Might not get to 15 then unless Chevy can put this one in. Oh, that's a floaty disc right across the field. And it took the disc out above Bevan, who'd pulled out because of the potential for contact there. But he's allowing it to stand. I think a little word about, hang on a minute, you can't do that, really. Leaning into the position. Again, 4 handlers for Smashed. Not very much downfield. And when they do break out, they've then got this as the option, which is a hammer right across the field. Gets the foot down inside. But then what's the follow-on pass? There's nothing downfield from there. Again, looking for that speculative indoor throw across the field.
Don Burnham's a little guy, but he's got a bit of a cannon, and he's got a set of wheels on him as well. So they can put him downfield. They can use him as a cutter, and that time, they have really jammed that one in the jam hole. The Sussex connection there as Burnham finds Betson. Teammates from my alma mater and teammates as well on the GB Under-24 mixed last cycle, 2019, although unfortunately Burnham didn't see the field in that tournament because he tore his ACL 2 weeks beforehand. So this is really his first major tournament back since that injury, and he looks in pretty good form, I will be honest.
He looks in incredible form, and to some extent he's accounted for a lot of the points that they've scored here. Certainly was very very key to that point for Smashed in the far corner there.
So this makes it a game to 14.
I do believe you're correct, yes. So the hooter went at the start, before the start of the point, didn't it? Or
during the point.
During the point, okay.
So, because this is rules terminology, the next point begins as soon as the previous point finishes, which I appreciate sounds obvious, but as soon as you catch it for the goal, the next point starts. So even if you haven't pulled, if the point has officially started.
Right, okay.
So if the hooter goes while you're waiting to pull, you finish that point. You don't say, oh, well, the hooter went after we scored. So you say, okay, the hooter went during this next point. Okay. So it is, cap +1, so it's 13-7 game to 14. So, Smash probably aren't going to win this game, but they didn't let Chevy really pull away from them and hit the cap, and that's something to take from this game.
Yeah. 7,000 languages in the world, and Benji Rees speaking facts. There.
Really, 7,000?
Over 7,000. I had to Google that just for the point. Colthammer sending it deep. What a grab. Oh, we're going to finish this game in spectacular style. And immediately, oh no, he's ground stripped himself. Looked like he'd got the grab for days. Look at this. Colthammer sending it. Reaches, grabs, lands, and it strips himself. And yeah, good spirit there. It would have been easy to try and pick that up and claim he'd hung on, but he didn't do it. And turn over to Smash with an opportunity to come back down.
A little reminiscent of Thomas Eriksson at Euros in 2011, like the ground strip and it comes back into the grasp, and maybe people didn't see it, but you've got to credit him there. You know, very honest. As soon as he lost it was like, no, turn over, let's play on.
This is a poor shot from. That's just a shot to the turf. Cheeseman with a chance to end the game for Chevy here. Morel looks into the end zone. No defence at all, and it's caught a little bit of a flutter into the chest. And is that Cartwright who had that ground strip? And we think that is game. Yes, they're shaking hands. So Chevron off to the perfect start with a double the points victory against Smashed, the team in blue, 14, and Smashed with 7. So big win for Chevy. Where can they take it from here, Benji?
I mean, they'll have one thing in mind this weekend, and it's the same thing they'll have in mind every UK Nationals, and it's finally capturing their first UK title. Just getting a replay of the final point again. The Red Sea seemed to part. Cartwright was in acres of space. Tell you what, he probably made a slightly more difficult job of that one than he did with the layout, but in the end, it stayed in his grasp. Little punch spike to the ground, and Chevron will begin that march towards the finals.
Well, thank you very much for joining us for this opening game from UK Nationals here from the Highfield Sports Park in Nottingham. Myself, Tom Stiles, alongside Benji Rees, with the pleasure of bringing it to you alongside the rest of the fantastic ULTI.TV crew. Milan, Rob, Chips and Felix on the cameras, the knobs and the buttons bring you the coverage. And if you'd like to support the work that we're doing out here, then you can do that. We'll try and shout as many of our Patreons out as we can. But if you go to ULTI.TV, and then you can find the link to the Patreon campaign there. And we really appreciate everything that you do. And if you're watching this on YouTube after, just give the like button a smash for us, would you?
And I'll tell you what, Tom, the best part is we've got plenty of Ultimate to come. We're not going anywhere.
Tell us about the games coming up, Benji.
So we're switching over to the mixed division for our next game. First mixed action of the weekend. Lemmings versus Smog 2. Both teams who have thoroughly earned their right to be here. That perhaps could be the game to make the semi-finals if the pool plays out the way we expect. So that could be very interesting. Smog 2, of course, went to Euros last time the National Championships were held. They took third spot in 2019. Lemmings did very well this year, coming up through and winning the National Cup. So that'll be a very spicy affair. After that, we've got a sneaky bonus game for you that we've managed to switch over to the show pitch. That's going to be London's Thundering Herd against Oxford once more in the mixed division. Then we go. That game starts at 1:45, and then 3:20 local time here in the UK. London Masters Ultimate against Scram in the women's division. Very much looking forward to that. And then we close out the day 5:05, the final game. The first pool goes up, and that is back to the open division with Scotland's Alba taking on Bristol. I think that's everything.
Yes, it was. And just one correction from the game. Number 6 was Tom Martin Hall, who we did.
Oh, of course it is. I feel like a real and it's clearly I've been away from it too long.
And it's Finn Campbell. Apologies, we called him Flynn a little bit during that. Thanks for people coming in on Twitter at Tom Styles. At
Genuinely,
Rees.
we really do appreciate the feedback. It's we're maybe ever so slightly rusty getting back into it after a time away, so we appreciate everyone getting involved.
Well, in the last 2 years, some new players have arrived on the scene with apparently amazing ultimate skills, and we've not had a chance to see them play, and we've not had a chance to commentate on their games, and we appreciate the whole community coming together to help bring their skills and bring their story to life through our voices here. And thank you very much. There's us. This is our commentary booth, Benji.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, commentated from far worse positions throughout the years.
We have.
far worse positions.
Yeah.
This is luxury, really.
We're dry. With the sun's behind us. It's all good. So thanks. We'll be back all day, but right now we're going to go down and talk to the Lemmings and Smog 2, ready for our next game, and we'll catch you very, very soon.
ULTI.TV.